You go, boy.
Whoa. Hey, this a vibe, nigga. Whoa. Woo. Secure the bag, I need more. Hey, 3P Jordan. Whoa. Woo. I can't keep it on a low. This a whole vibe. I don't need a plug, no cosign. Thinking out loud, that's a gold mine. Mask on, yeah, COVID-19. Baby mama, yeah, looking like Rihanna. Rest in peace to George, rest in peace Brianna. Still kicking like Van Damme with my niggas in Amsterdam. Yahtzee. Hey world, you like that intro?
I love that. I'm a big fan right there.
Hey world. It's your boy, U-Goboy. Oh, I got my homie here. I got the goat here. I'll get to him in a second. Where's my camera as always? What's good? Episode 3, we back. Yahtzee, all that good stuff. Yahtzee Prego, sorry. Monopoly, all that good stuff. This is a special edition of the U-Goboy podcast, live from Bravery Studios.
This is a certified hood classic.
We got Steve on the boards. He's got the baldy going. I'm loving it. Yeah, this is a special episode. We do a lot of sports talk on here, too. We don't just do authentic, unfiltered conversations with everybody in terms of the talk show format. We also do tons of sports talk. And, who knows? Maybe a spinoff show. Maybe the U-Goboy Sports podcast at some point. Who knows? Suspense. But no, before we start, as always, big shout out to Bravery, as always. That's the home base for holding us down. Shout out to all the subscribers. We got a ton of new subscribers. We got some numbers. Steve, I need you to load the bombs up. So we just officially, as of today, it'll probably change by episode 4, but as of today, we just hit 95,000 viewers on TikTok. Give me those bombs! 95,000? Are you kidding me? I'm loving it. So shout out to everybody on TikTok for loving your boy. Shout out to all the subscribers, new subscribers on YouTube. We got merch in the building. Dan the Man is rocking some of that U-Goboy merch.
Right there. Let's do it.
Merch City. I'm rocking the U-Goboy shirt. Oh, available in the description as well. Grab yourself some U-Goboy merch. Hat's on the way too. Dan's hat is on the way too. Shout out to Amazon. Shout out to Teesprings. Shout out to Jeff Bezos.
You're trying your best, Amazon. Trying your best.
Trying. But again, shout out to all the followers across the social media platforms. You guys have been great, holding your boy down. We're only 3 episodes in, and we're growing, and I'm loving it. So big shout out to everybody. It's like a 90s sitcom. It's like Family Matters. Everywhere you look. But so like I said, this is a special episode. This is sports talk, and everybody who knows me knows that I got a degree in sports journalism, Penn State University. Yay! I mean, come on. Like, sports talk is it's in my war chest of skill sets, and I brought one of my homies, one of my day ones, who is going to be a regular on here whenever we have sports talk. This guy is a Central Jersey native, a lifelong New York Knicks and Jet fan. Sorry to hear that. Fortunately, he has found podcasting as the perfect platform to vent his frustration. He spent the last year and a half as part of the basketball team from I-80 Sports. He's an educator, like myself. He's also previously taught business and computer classes. He's currently teaching music as well as math. My main man, Dave Frieri, a.k.a. Mongo's in the building.
All right.
I'm going to shut up, let you talk about yourself for a minute, bro. Like, Mongo. Dan the Man, what's Dave the Man, Dan the Man, whatever.
I love
what's
it,
good, man. What's good?
I told you, there's only 2 of us, so you throw out a name, I'll know it's in my direction. Don't worry, we're good.
Nice.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? It is like a 90s sitcom. This is great, man. And thank you for having me. Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm Mongo, and I got some things to say because. Boy, Jets stink, Knicks stink, but it's baseball season, and Yankees are having a heck of a day.
Yes,
a heck of a weekend, and I'm ready to talk about them. I'm ready to talk about everything, to be honest.
Awesome. We got a jam-packed show for you guys. Tons of baseball talk, some Vince McMahon WWE talk, some NFL talk, some hot stove talk as well. Aaron Judge is here, by the way. Aaron Judge is here, the soon-to-be AL MVP. It's wrapped up. Come on, it's wrapped up.
I assume he's going to be at least 47 home runs by the end of this podcast.
Minimum. So Barry Bonds, watch
keep an
out
eye on that.
for sure. Yes. All rise. Here comes the judge. Feels like John Sterling's in the building. So anyway, let's take it. Let's start off with those Yankees. Let's start off with the Yankees. Yankees made a bunch of moves. They grabbed Andrew Benintendi. They grabbed Scott Efros, Lou Trevino. They bolstered their bullpen. They got some help. They just shipped off Joey Gallo for a bag of chips. And actually, he was a pretty good prospect from the Dodgers that they picked up. Let me not say that. But he was worth a bag of flaming hot Doritos. Oh my God, he was so bad. But the Yankees made some moves. Are we still, because we're both Yankee fans, so we're a little biased. Are they still the team to beat?
Yeah, yes is the simple answer to that. I think they were the team to beat to begin with on paper. Now, again, at the end of the day, the bottom line is the Astros have their number, and so that doesn't change no matter who you put in there. It's a mentality thing at this point. But on paper, they're much better. The Benintendi deal is an A triple plus win. They could have traded for Nelson Cruz with a net and put him out in left field. I don't care what it was. It's not Joey Gallo. That's a W. Scott Efros coming over from the Cubs. All right, a little more questionable because we gave him a top 10 prospect. But he's still under control till 2027, and also he's a side armor, and that's something the Yankees don't do. The Yankees bullpen traditionally looks like your typical frat. It's the same guy over and over and over again. They're all jocks. They're all flamethrowers.
They have a type. They have a type.
And that's cool. It's effective. It works. But to give that somewhat different look, especially when it seems like the Astros have figured out that guy, that's huge. And again, because they have him under control for a while, again, slam dunk. Montas is the interesting one, getting Frankie Montas from the A's.
For sure. Another starter.
In a vacuum, might have overpaid for him. If you're out there saying, if you're like me, if you're out there saying Ken Waldichuk is a future ace, what are we doing? I agree. Ken Waldichuk, future ace, enjoy your time in Oakland. Good luck, buddy. But
some 90 lost seasons on deck. Go ahead.
But don't take it in the vacuum of the trade. Take it for the market.
Yeah.
And I compare him to Luis Castillo, fairly close. I mean, Castillo only 1100th of an ERA better for his career. Montas actually with the better winning percentage. So you can make the case they're comparable.
Yeah.
The Yankees had to give up a really good prospect, but he was their number 5 and becomes Oakland's number 3.
Yeah, that's true.
When Seattle gives up Noelvi Marte, he's their number 1 prospect and immediately becomes the Reds' number 1 prospect.
True.
So relative to the market, the Yankees gave up a smaller dagger and also helped the opposing team in the trade less.
Yeah.
So when you look at what it could have been, in that sense, I give it more of like a B minus, but it's definitely a win relative to what the market was demanding.
For sure. And I think it's key to note that my biggest fear with the whole Soto talk as well as the Castillo talk. Okay, say you do hypothetically pull the trigger and just go all in, scorched earth, let's get Soto. You got to pay him and you got to pay Judge, or you got to pay one or the other.
Right.
So do the ends justify the means? Yeah, you'll have a super team for 1 year, but then comes a really difficult decision because you're not going to pay them both mega deals. That's not happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the smartest thing they did here, so when you put the 3 trades together, the big question becomes they effectively brought in 4 guys for 7 pitching prospects. They did not send out a single batter in this nonsense.
That's true. That's a good point.
And it's easy to look and go, that's a lot of pitching. But this particular iteration of the Yankees, their prospects, meaning the guys who will be on the 2024 team, are just sitting on the IL right now. Michael King will be a member of the 2024 Yankees. Luis Gil, remember that dude? He had like 15 innings of greatness, and then tore his every CL in the dictionary.
I saw him pitch in person. He's legit.
He's great. He'll be a 2024 starter.
True.
They just sent down Clark Schmidt. He'll eventually be a full-time member of this team, but technically he's not a prospect anymore. And then Adin Sevi, who's going to be injured for a while. Yeah. Basically, a third of their 2024 pitching staff is not on the current roster.
That's true.
But they already own the rights to.
That's right.
So they don't necessarily need that pitching depth immediately. And I think that actually helps because when you're trying to sell Aaron Judge on a contract this offseason, you do have reserves coming, but they're much more ready than, you never knew. Ken Waldichuk, I personally think, going to be an ace, but maybe a year or 2 away. And Aaron Judge can't concern himself with what the 2027, 2028 Yankees are going to look like.
He
wants to know that the guys who are coming in are going to make them better in the immediate. And Michael
Right.
King coming back next year is going to make them better immediately.
Yes.
Luis Hill coming back at the end of next year or the start of 2024 is going to make them better at the beginning of his contract.
For sure.
And so this particular iteration of what they have not only allows them to spend pitching prospects, it also is more attractive to Aaron Judge, which I agree with you right now. That's got to be the number one priority.
Absolutely, facts. Can I get some bombs for Dan the Man? He's just dropping nukes.
Certified hood
Dropping
classic.
nukes, good stuff, bro. As
I'm
always,
ready, I'm ready.
always. This is listen. I only bring the best on the pod, so you guys should know this is how we get down over here. This is how we give it up over here. So, let's talk a little bit more about these prospects. So, and I like what you did there, how you set that up. So, Volpe and Dominguez were the two main names, and it starts with an O.
Peraza.
Peraza.
Oswald Peraza.
Yes, exactly. Those three guys. I don't like to be that guy to hold on to prospects, but the buzz, especially around Volpe
Correct.
and Dominguez, the Martian, I'm seeing these guys hitting bombs in AA and AAA. Dear God, I can understand if, okay, you're going to get Soto, but again, like we said before, then you're in a tough spot. Do you think that keeping those big three, was that the biggest win that you took from everything that happened that Cashman maneuvered over the past few days?
Yeah, absolutely, to be quite honest. So first of all, very sneaky, now the Yankees are loaded out the brim with middle infield prospects because after those two guys, they drafted Trey Sweeney in the first round last year, and they basically won Roderick Arias. He was the top international prospect in this year's international draft.
That's true.
So generally, you don't go Rusney Castillo. You don't get an international prospect and then immediately give up on him like the Red Sox did. But certainly Sweeney could be a movable middle infielder in the future. You don't need 4 middle infielders, in the future. But what I really love is taking this one step further. Unfortunately, Waldichuk was a huge piece of this, but Wells, the big catching prospect, is right now down at AA Somerset. And when you put him with Peraza, with Dominguez, okay, an outfield homegrown prospect, a shortstop, and a catcher. Where have we seen
this before? That core four from the 90s.
Looking very familiar all of a sudden. And now they need a pitching ace to go with that. I really, Waldichuk really had shades of true ace. I think Luis Hill, Domingo Herman might be true number 3s, number 4s in the future. But again, you have these other young shortstops who you can try and move for pitching prospects in the future, or they're the Yankees. They can always go and buy somebody to pair with Cole.
True.
Or maybe Cole was just that ace. But I think they see shades of this particular crop of prospects and say this really eerily matches the 90s. We've seemed to figure out how to buy mid-level veterans again, like we did with the Scott Brociouses of the world.
Yeah.
We have the right crop of guys we're comfortable with coming up. Let's see if we can recreate that magic.
Yeah.
Also,
sure.
do we have a sound effect for insider information?
Oh yeah, can we get the X-Files or something, or
I'm really proud of this one.
Steve on the boards.
Let's say sorry. I
it's good.
Could have put the pressure on there,
it's
but
good. It's
I
good.
literally have one piece of insider information, and I'm going to drop it here in the first 10 minutes.
Steve's gonna drop something, so we're good. He'll load something up. I'm loving this.
It's I'll spoil it while we're waiting here. It's on Anthony Volpe. I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows Anthony Volpe, and so I have news there.
No! You can just go with gunshots or bombs.
Yeah,
again.
these could be truth bombs.
For sure. All right, sweet. So what you got for me, man? What you got for me?
So I know somebody who works for the Somerset Patriots facility, and so because they're there so early setting up and everything, they tend to just talk to the players while they're warming up. And the general word, and obviously I don't know who this is from nor would I say it obviously, but Volpe is growing up before their eyes. He came in this year a little bit more emotionally like a kid. He was, everything was he was trying to land it in the parking lot. He took strikeouts a little bit more seriously, and he seems to be really maturing, as a teammate and as a person. And that's really what you want to see because, like you mentioned, there's no one denying this dude can just hit the ball to Mars anytime he wants.
For sure.
But that's, we need more than that, especially if he is going to either be better than Peraza to justify eventually moving Peraza or playing next to Peraza.
Yeah.
And so all accounts out of Somerset are that he is really becoming kind of a leader in that clubhouse.
Yeah, I mean, Derek Jeter is Derek Jeter, and he's on the Mount Rushmore of Yankees for forever. They want to find that next guy. And yeah, you've got your face now in Judge for sure,
right.
And they're going to re-sign him. I'd be shocked if they didn't at this point. But I know from a shortstop standpoint, they're looking for that next Jeter-like. Listen, chips are down, clutch. We can if Judge is sputtering a bit or whatnot, we can also have this guy in the lineup day in and day out to just get those clutch key at bats. Because you gotta remember, for fans of baseball throughout the 90s, you can never say Jeter was like the de facto best player on the Yankees.
Oh, absolutely.
Pretty much ever. Was he the unquestioned leader? Yes. Was he the unquestioned most clutch? Like nuts on the table, grind time, chips are down. I want him at bat. I want him up to the plate or whatnot.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like you put him next to A-Rod. I love A-Rod. I know A-Rod gets a lot of shit. You know what I mean? But I love A-Rod. Just pure skill, one next to the other. It's not even that much of a it's not as close as people think. But who is clutch? Who would you? Yo, I need a hit here. I need a single here.
Right.
I need a double here. I need somebody on base to knock this guy out with 2 outs. I'm taking Jeter over him. Oh, we got the X-Factor.
There it is. We're on the
nice,
case. Very nice.
Nice.
Yeah, beautiful. The other thing with Jeter is that there were no limits. Kind of like how if you called me tomorrow and said, "Hey, did you hear who hit a game winner last night?" I just assume it's Aaron Judge. If we could flash back to our high school selves and you called me and said, "Hey, did you hear who jumped over a tarp to catch a foul ball in the second row?" I would just assume it was Jeter. Did you hear who caught a bounce pass from Shane Spencer and threw Jeremy Giambi out at home? I would just assume it's Derek Jeter.
Facts.
And the fact that this dude's motor was literally limitless too. There was nothing you could have said where I wouldn't have said, "Oh yeah, that was probably Jeter." That's what you want. And they've actually, one of the best things they've done is by moving Judge to center field.
Yes.
He can now do more of that. The problem when he was in right was, if you said, "Hey, did you hear who made a game-saving catch?" Well, I'd have to ask, was it a righty? Because if so, it probably wasn't Judge. But now true. Judge can be involved in literally anything. And that's just incredibly important that your true captain or true motor guy is either second short catcher or pitcher or center field. And so if Peraza and Volpe are truly the middle infield, we can re-sign Judge. Austin Wells can catch. You're in a really, really good spot for a really, really long time.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to wrap up baseball talk because we got a lot to get to. So the Astros made a number of moves.
Yes.
And including, we were talking about this off camera, it was straight out of the Office skit. You got Vasquez warming up, doing batting practice, Christian Vasquez. And he's warming up, and they're just like, Christian, you just got traded. So how do you feel about that? It's business. And he gets ready to answer another question, and somebody from the dugout is just like, yeah, bro, we need you to change into your Astros uniform real quick. You want to talk about awkward? Goodness gracious! So they pick him up, and they pick up Trey Mancini as well, Mr. Boom Boom from the Orioles. We mentioned it earlier. It's Yankees, Astros, and everybody else or whatnot.
Absolutely.
How big are these moves for Houston? Do you see this as like fortifying them, or they were already legit contenders to begin with, and this just reaffirms that? What do you make of them?
The Vasquez move scares me. First of all, that has been an absolute dead spot in the Astro lineup, and right now, basically, it was going to come down to who could do a better job of filling their dead spots. The Yankees did their job sending Joey Gallo out, and now it seems like the Astros have done the same. Because by getting Mancini there too, you can get a little cute with the lineup. You can get Michael Brantley over to center. I forget his first. I think it's Jacob Myers. They have something called a Myers, something out there in center.
Yeah.
Doing well enough, but definitely not a guy you want to talk about trust in October. I don't want Jacob. If I'm an Astros fan, I don't want Jacob Myers doing anything for me. So this gets Maldonado and Myers out of the lineup, which is important. Vasquez though scares me particularly because there are certain teams with certain positions that just have a history of being leaders and being clutch. You think of like Penn State linebackers. It seems like the Red Sox will only go hunt down a catcher if he is somebody who really can masterfully control a pitching staff.
True.
And the one thing you can say about the Astros this year is, Framber Valdez is getting up there in age. I think he's in his upper 20s, but even he doesn't have much by way of a lot of clutch playoff World Series experience. Garcia, Javier, these are guys who really have minimal experience. And so having a veteran catcher who, if he's a Red Sox catcher, I immediately think, okay, he can do that.
Yeah.
That one particularly scares me. Mancini, good bat, great clubhouse guy, but they already have veterans and guys who know how to do it.
Oh, yeah,
so he'll just add to the pile. But Vasquez particularly scares me because those young pitchers really need someone they can trust back there.
True. And I mean, Pedro Alvarez is terrifying, like in every sense of the word. So.
Both teams batters 2 through 6. I mean,
take your pick.
Right. But so it really came down to whose holes were deeper.
Right.
And I think, A+ to both teams. I mean, looking around the league, it's a great trade deadline for almost everyone. And I know we don't have enough time. But, obviously what the Padres did is
getting Soto.
Absolutely amazing.
For sure.
The Orioles did a pretty good job. I questioned trading Mancini only because he's such a big clubhouse guy.
Yeah.
But they managed to move some veterans without looking too much worse on paper.
Yeah.
The Reds obviously bringing a new number 1 prospect. I think everyone did a really good job. The one team, I question is what the Red Sox did. They really couldn't seem to find a position. They moved some vets, but brought in some vets. Everyone else, though, seemed to have a clear direction. Teams seemed to be very more than willing to help each other. And so it'll be a very interesting run. But I think at the end of the day, the Dodgers, Mets, Astros and Yankees were a clear top 4. And other than the Padres, really asserting themselves as number 5, I think those teams did enough to stay ahead of the pack. Where at least in the AL, it should still be Yankees, Astros, and now it should just be a way better series.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really interested to see how it all plays out with with the Padres. I mean, you already got Machado on a big deal. You already have
Fernando Tatis.
Fernando Tatis. I love that guy, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Is he coming back this year?
He is supposedly coming back this year.
Okay, you got Tatis on a big deal. I don't know if they're going to. I think they're going to try. They're certainly going to attempt it, but to have 3 mega deals, it's tough to pull off. I mean, the Dodgers pull it off. I mean, they got Betts on a mega deal. They got Freddie Freeman on a big deal, and they still got Kershaw. He's got like 4 years left on his max deal too. So, they're certainly going to try, and I'm interested to see how that plays out. But I'm just glad Soto's in the National League, and we don't have to worry about that unless obviously we meet up for the big show.
Absolutely, and it's also very nice to see a small team owner willing to spend billions.
Yes.
Because now that the Yankees have an unfair advantage, they're New York, that argument that's been being used for 20 years goes out the window.
Yeah.
And especially in the National League now, we now have 3 teams, and get used to this Dodgers, Mets, Padres 1, 2, 3 thing.
This is going to be a thing for a while
years
because a lot of those guys are young.
Correct.
A lot of those guys are young.
And if any of them do anything, they get injured, they want to walk, they whatever. These owners are not afraid. These are 3 owners who will gladly just luxury tax year after year after year.
I love it.
I'm here for it.
I'm here for it. I take the salary cap off in MLB The Show. I listen, have at it. Wild West. I want to be able to sign where I want.
Nice.
All right, so let's get to the NFL. It's August, so preseason is right. Training camp has begun. Training camp is here. We'll start with your Jets, then move to my Cowboys. I mean, each of us should probably be drinking now because we will be drinking at some point during the regular season into the playoffs. But with your Jets, funny story before we start. I did see Cowboys Jets in person in 2019. Yes, I went to that game. We lost to you guys. That was the game, believe it or not. Jason Garrett, that's one of my favorite Jason Garrett moments because we were losing to you guys going into the 4th. I think we got really close toward the end, but you guys pulled it out like with a goal line stand or something. But the Jason Garrett was trying to high-five the guys, just clap and smile. Like, I'm shitty at my job, but I'm still going to clap.
That's right.
He went to go high-five some guys, and guys just walked by him like, bro, like, you're an idiot. Like, why am I high-fiving you or whatnot? So, but the Jets did beat the Cowboys for what it's worth on here. So you have that.
I have the bragging rights.
You have that.
I don't know if I want that. I think I would have rather had the higher draft pick that year. I think can we go back? Can I swap? Can I send that? That win probably meant more to you than it did to us. Let's be quite honest.
For sure. But let's start with your Jets. So you guys got I love what you guys did in the draft.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely. I love what you guys have done in the draft really the last 2 years, to be honest with you. So you guys grab Garrett Wilson from Ohio State. Who was your second round pick?
So we grabbed Wilson. We grabbed Johnson, the defensive end from Florida State.
From Florida State, yeah. That guy as well. And Zach Wilson, another year of trotting him out there. A lot of people feel like he'll this is a big year for him to take the next step or whatnot. How do you feel about 2 things? How do you feel about Wilson's development? How do you feel about Robert Saleh really getting his culture in now with a full season and now subsequently with a full training camp, a full offseason under his belt? 2 years subsequently 2 years in now, how are you feeling about Salah? How are you feeling about Zach Wilson?
So I'm going to Tarantino this. I'm going to give the ending and then work my way back.
Please do. Reservoir Dogs, now streaming.
The Jets, nice call. The Jets are going to stink this year. Let me work backwards from that. So this is going to be a lot of good ending with, but the Jets are going to stink. Robert Saleh has it going in the right direction.
Okay.
He's definitely well liked. He's definitely well trusted. You can see it in the fact that you are starting to see some, as Niners contracts expire, you're starting to see some guys come over. So
coming on over.
Right, exactly.
Quan Alexander, come on down.
Right, and that's the point, right? That's the point of hiring someone who's been in it before.
Yeah.
That you have the insider information. Getting Carl Lawson back for an actual season. He was our big off-season signing in 2021, and then just completely missed the season. That's basically like getting, another bonus day 1, day 2 draft pick.
Yeah.
Getting, your star pass rusher back. They now should have a true offensive line in front of him. I mean, Mekhi Becton is an absolute guessing game. We can only hope that he cares enough and keeps the weight down enough that he can be usable. But again, we'll see what happens. But I like where Wilson's going. I think having Garrett Wilson is huge because I only have one tale of Garrett Wilson. I was getting ready for a wedding back in November, and I think it was that Ohio State. I think it was Ohio State, Purdue. It was either Purdue, Indiana. That part's not important. But I had known that Chris Olave was the man.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching the game, and I'm assuming I'm watching Chris Olave just dominate this game. And then finally he turns around, or finally they showed a stat or something, and I realized I was watching Garrett Wilson the whole time.
Yeah, he was nasty.
He was nasty. He was filthy. He has the better hands. He runs the better routes. I mean, Olave is a dynamite athlete, but I would much rather have Garrett Wilson. I'm glad we ended up with Garrett Wilson. And, I think he really does wonders for Elijah Moore as well. Elijah Moore can now play the unders when he wants to. Getting rid of Jamison Crowder was also, he walked, but genius to not make that effort. Let Elijah Moore kind of work the under, Garrett Wilson kind of work the over.
Yeah, for sure.
And that'll help. They now have a pair of running backs there. Breece Hall and Michael Carter, a little thunder lightning action.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all the pieces are there.
They're
but
coming together. You're seeing them come together.
Exactly. It's going to take a while. I think it's a no-brainer. If next year's draft, if you have 9 picks overall, you take 9 defensive players. If Mekhi Becton stinks, you take 1 offensive lineman and 8 defensive players. But it's clear Robert Saleh is going to need some time to build this defense. The offense can just grow now. So I like where they're going. I like where they're headed. But again, like I said, the AFC is ridiculously stacked.
True.
There's no easy out in the AFC. They could easily conceivably go 1-5 in their own division. It's going to be a long season. They're going to have a high draft pick. But if you're a Jet fan, do not give up on them. Do not measure this season in wins. I've never called into a radio show, but so help me if I'm hearing calls for Robert Saleh's head. That will annoy me to no end. There's finally no nonsense in the background. Just let it go. Let it run its course. Get another high draft pick next year. You're going in the right direction.
For sure. I love the realistic fan. That's my favorite type of fan.
That would be me.
And what's funny is because this is Jersey, so I either meet a Giant fan, a Cowboy fan, or a Jet fan. You guys are sprinkled, out here in Queens and Staten Island and Long Island. But it's I love talking to informed fans that understand, okay, this is what they're doing, probably going to suck this year, or vice versa. Yeah, our front office is clueless. I don't know what they're doing, but I'm going to watch because it's Sunday, and I'd rather be doing that than watching, PBA or professional bull riding, So I appreciate that. I appreciate the candor. Before we get to the individual topics or whatnot, let me just get on my cowboy soapbox for a minute.
Absolutely.
Please, where's my camera? Can I get some sad music, please? Some sad music, please. So, 27 years and counting as a Dallas Cowboy fan waiting for that illustrious Super Bowl. Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, Jimmy Johnson, Deion Sanders. The 90s was a beautiful time. It was a beautiful time, and that was a long time ago. Okay, you stop the music now. I'm sad now. But
I was in mourning.
Yeah, I was too.
That was rough.
This is a eulogy before the season even started. But they went 12-5 last year. Offensively, loved what they did for a good portion of the season. I think what they ran into is something they've run into these past 2 years in particular. What I've seen is a very common trend, especially with Mike McCarthy. They have a really tough time against the really good teams. And that even bothered me last year, even during the winning streak. I think at one point they were 7-1, I believe, or 6-1. They were really running roughshod over a lot of mediocre to bad teams. So my thing is, I want to see how they perform against the top tier teams this year. They're going to get a first place schedule, but still from a strength of schedule standpoint, it's still one of the more favorable schedules and whatnot. So if everyone's healthy, knock on wood, I expect them to be double-digit wins.
Wow.
I expect 10 to 12 wins without any major catastrophic injury. 10 to 12 wins. So that puts you pretty much where you were last year, 11-6 or 12-5 or 10-7 in that realm. McCarthy's coaching for his job. Like, there's no way you're going to go 3 consecutive years without a playoff win, and you're not Jason Garrett. You don't have like the pictures in the vault to keep you justify your job.
Very true.
Exactly. So McCarthy's coaching for his job. Not to mention, there's this guy, I don't know if you've heard of him. His name's Sean Payton. He's very, very willing and able to come in and be the Parcells or be the Jimmy Johnson who comes in and is the culture changer, because Jerry Jones knows it. He's getting up there in age. He's going to have probably one big major plunge coaching-wise left on his ledger, before he has to either turn things over full-time to Steven, which I'm not looking forward to. We call him Cat Boy in Cowboy Nation for obvious reasons, because that cap, got to worry about the cap for 2030
right.
and 2031. Yeah, so, and not to mention receiver-wise, I'm excited about CeeDee Lamb. Amari Cooper, from everything I heard, shout out to Michael Lombardi. I worked on GM Shuffle.
Right.
His insider information was that Amari wasn't healthy.
Right.
He actually hasn't been healthy last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're older, you don't get healthier.
Right.
When you get older,
checks out.
You're gonna have hamstring injuries, foot injuries, back injuries, neck injuries. They kind of linger a little longer. So he's still a really good player. I don't know how much fun he's gonna have in Cleveland, but that's neither here nor there. So I'm optimistic in the sense of, I think they should be competitive in terms of, but I won't pass judgment until I see us play the big boys.
Right.
If they struggle against the big boys, they'll be one and done again, and Sean Payton will be our coach. That I'm at peace with that. I'm at peace with that, because McCarthy, you'll have 4 full seasons under your belt to show, or 3 full seasons under your belt to show what exactly you can do with a healthy Dak Prescott, and Zeke and Pollard. The offensive line, I understand, is aging. Kellen Moore, this is a huge year for him,
right,
because we were throwing passes to offensive linemen in the playoffs. I don't know why, but that was the game plan.
It was fun.
Sounds fun and
looked entertaining.
In a turkey bowl or ultimate frisbee tournament, but in an NFL game, I kind of want you to target. The way Cooper Kupp gets 15 targets, Devontae Adams got 15 targets in Vegas and in the Packers, and now with Vegas he's going to get. I want CeeDee Lamb to be targeted 15 times a game. That's what I want. Right. I want, because I can see him doing everything that Jamar Chase and Kupp and Adams can do, just from a pure talent standpoint. It's there. I saw it at OU. I know you saw it at OU.
Yeah.
The guy's legit. So a lot of questions coming in. Micah Parsons is the real deal. I've got his jersey. He went to Penn State. Nothing wrong on that side.
No.
So there's a lot of good things and there's a lot of question marks, but that'll be my litmus test for them. I'll turn it over to you real quick before we get to a couple more topics about football, but my litmus test is, how do they perform against the big boys, and no major injury, and is Dak continuing his ascension, because he's just gotten better every year, and the numbers don't lie. The numbers indicate that he's gotten better. So what do you make of Dallas coming into this season?
So first of all, can we get that X-Files music again? I'm going to jump in on the conspiracy theories here.
Nice.
Now that we got it, I'm gonna use the heck out of it. Right? Now that I made him go find it. So I do wonder to what extent they didn't want to truly find CeeDee Lamb's ceiling last year, because I agree with you. I think CeeDee Lamb has a chance to be a top wide receiver in the league this year, but if they had just gone to that plan last year, you're probably losing Gallup and Cooper both to go find a team where they could be a true number one.
This is true.
Now, granted, Gallup got injured, which kind of helps lock him into where he needs to be. But still, I think there's a large part of Michael Gallup that feels like he's the number one, if not the 1B on this team.
That's true.
And that ego was, I think, important. Now that he's signed up, yeah, let CeeDee Lamb go nuts because now, first of all, he's the next one who needs to get paid. But second of all, Michael Gallup's not going anywhere. He's now, he's now long term. So I think you're going to see CeeDee Lamb explode a lot more. My big question with Dallas is, and it's not a question about Dallas, but when you look at the rest of that division, Washington adds Carson Wentz. And I think Jahan Dotson has a chance to be an absolute stud this year.
That's facts. Penn State.
Look at, there you go again. You look at the Eagles adding A.J. Brown. You look at the Giants basically adding a functioning offensive line.
MGM.
I just feel like
This is a certified hood classic.
I just feel like the other teams did more to catch up, whereas Dallas just said, "Come and get us." And I'm not sure if that's necessarily the best strategy.
Agreed. No, I agree wholeheartedly. And that's like realistic Cowboy fans. We break ourselves up as a fan base. There's the front runners that ESPN swears that's everybody.
Right.
There's the people that are stuck in the past, kind of like Steeler fans that like, yeah, we were good back in the day, back in my day. And you got the realistic ones, Gen Z, borderline millennials that are just like, yeah, so we're informed. We know when we suck. We know when breaking news takes place. Our front office is a bunch of idiots on some levels. There are some good, and there's a lot of delusional, in terms of the cap. Because, yeah, everyone deals with the cap, but it's fungible.
Right.
You can manipulate it. There's a reason why the Rams were able to sign everybody and give raises because they know how to work the cap. And it seems like everybody knows how to do that except Catboy, Stephen Jones. It's like, we gotta pay Trey Diggs in a couple years. We got to pay Micah and pay CD and whatnot.
Right.
Like, you can still do that, and you can still sign guys to help now. You can do both.
Right.
But you have it in your mind that you can't. It's frustrating.
Right, especially when you have teams like the Saints that are basically just backloading contracts, and then when they have a problem in 2 years, they just backload the next They're basically just putting off bankruptcy.
Exactly.
Like other teams are willing to get creative with this. You can have a little fun with it. The other thing I'll say about Dallas, this will be my bold prediction here on the Cowboys. If they get to double-digit wins, I would say that is because Jalen Tolbert is a top 3 offensive rookie of the year candidate.
Facts.
He needs to be clutch, which that's my other big worry about Dallas, especially with where's the number on Gallup right now? Is he supposed to miss 6 games or?
I'm hearing between 6 to 8, so probably you'll see him around Thanksgiving, realistically, barring any setbacks in a perfect world.
Right. So my worry is if they get off to a real slow start in spite of him, which would mean Jalen Tolbert is not truly delivering as a 2. There's nothing about that team's culture that suggests that they would be able to or want to bounce back from 2-5, 2-4, and so that would be they really need to be sputtering at about 3-2, and then they can take off once Gallup comes back. But that would be my other big fear if I'm a Cowboy fan. I'm eyeing October 1st as basically my Christmas because if they're not in 4th on that date, you're in good shape.
For sure.
So that's very important for them.
Where's my camera? I want to talk to Mike McCarthy real quick. Mike McCarthy, you're coaching for your job. Sean Payton wants to coach the Cowboys. I don't care what he says on TV. I don't care what he puts in the group chat, in the group text. I don't care what he puts on his TikTok. He wants to be the coach of the Cowboys. He is waiting for you to fail. That's not a hot take. That's a fact. So if you don't get this team to a minimum 2 playoff wins, some type of semblance of a playoff run, you're gone. You're gone. You are gone. So,
and I'll segue it into what I think is our next topic here, just based on where we're going. It's a very winnable NFC this year.
Very.
That's not 2 games against like 12-4, 12-5 teams. That should be somebody who accidentally sneaks in as the 6th seed.
True. Perfect segue.
The wild card should be pretty easy to knock off here, and pretty easy to win. So if the Eagles, are what we think they could be this year with A.J. Brown, and you have to settle for a wild card, you still should be able to conceivably compete with, a very Aaron Rodgers and 52 guys who get to say, I played with Aaron Rodgers when he accidentally wins the North. It's game week 1 of the NFC playoff the NFC playoffs should be very winnable.
So. Well, so great segue. Give me some bombs. Steve on the boards. We're live from Bravery Studios.
Yes.
We're loving it. I'm here with Dan the Man, Mongo. So the Rams, do they repeat? I say no.
I also say no. Do they get to this? I'll ask you. Do they get to the Super Bowl?
I think they go on a run. just from a talent standpoint, again, you have to say it. It's like a disclaimer. It's like those Got Milk commercials or those big tobacco commercials back in the '90s. Above the influence.
He needs some milk.
That's great, Steve. That's awesome.
Steve on the boards.
That's amazing.
Give the man a raise. Pay the man. Again, I'm a believer in Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
I think him and Adams are just in another area code. And Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, they're not too far behind. They're in the conversation.
Right.
Hopefully, give Kellen Moore, wants to throw the ball at CD, maybe.
He should be
one
there.
day. One day
He should be in the conversation. Might be the best way to say that.
Should be, but it's neither here nor there. But so I think from from a talent standpoint, the Rams did a really good job each year, especially the last few years, of fortifying needs, paying their stars. They draft well. They don't have a lot of picks to do it with, but they hit on their draft picks.
Yeah.
Like Cooper Kupp was drafted, Aaron Donald was drafted. A lot of those guys on that defense were drafted. So this whole thing, F them picks, is really kind of F them picks in a sense of getting Jalen Ramsey, but everyone else are homegrown talent.
Right.
So they figured out how to develop their guys, pay their guys, and fortify their team. Not too hard. This isn't Madden franchise mode like on crack. Like you can do this. Competent front offices can do this.
Right.
I think they're set up to be competitive really this next 3 to 4 years if Stafford stays healthy. He showed me a lot last year. I thought he was going to turn the ball over, and he kind of did. He kind of proved me right in that sense. But he came up with some really money throws in the playoffs. And again, Cooper Kupp, I'm a believer. It's not like I was a disbeliever before, but I knew he was good. He really showed me that he's great. He's a great player. Cooper Kupp is not a good player. Cooper Kupp is a great player. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. I really believe that. I'll go that far because the
that
numbers,
was worth the bomb.
That's definitely worth the bomb.
That's worth the bomb.
And of course, Aaron Donald is all world. Like he's Reggie White, more athletic, which is freaky just to think about.
Crazy.
But I think the NFC, you got to remember, they needed game-winning drives, I think, in every round outside of the wild card. So it's not that they just came in roughshod like the 72 Dolphins. I think, like you said, the parity in the NFC, it's just so wide open. It's so wide open, and I see them making a run. I see them getting in a tournament. Tampa's still in the conversation because Brady's there. Aaron Rodgers is there with his friends that, some of them are probably citizens of Green Bay at this point. The fact they've shipped everybody off. But the NFC's loaded. It's loaded. So it's too loaded for me to believe that they're gonna have all that luck again.
And that to me is the problem. On paper, like if we just sat here and we nerded out for hours, which we won't make you do that, sports fans. So I promise we won't.
Yeah.
But if we were to, you would find that I think the Rams are the best physical team. The problem is, I think the East and the West are so much better than the North and the South in the NFC.
That's true.
That Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers' path to the playoffs looks pretty easy, which means they should come in fairly fresh into, with Brady possibly even not even having to play weeks 16 or 17 and 18.
True. This is true.
Which means you're going to have to rely on Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers both not just getting super hot in the playoffs. And if you just look at how often Tom Brady has been in the Super Bowl, statistically that doesn't necessarily happen in consecutive years that often.
No, that's true. That's true. That's a fair point.
They're going to need a little luck there because at this point Brady and Rodgers are both smart enough to say that's Jalen Ramsey, that isn't. Let me throw it that way.
Exactly.
So that could be their trouble.
That's a great point, and that's something that honestly I think that's hurt the Packers in recent years. The fact that you play in such a shitty division, like people get on Dallas for the NFC least, so to speak. Look at the NFC North. All right, you got the Lions, you got the Bears, you got the Tigers. Oh my, you got the and you got the Vikings and Kirk Cousins flooded in mediocrity. 6 games a year that Rodgers is just like, okay, I can play this at about 75%. I mean, the Vikings I might split with them from time to time, and that's happened. But I got the Lions and I got the Bears. Like, it's not that hard. So, I mean, I think that's worked against them because in the tournament, you're not playing the Lions and you're not playing the Bears.
Right.
And you're not playing the Vikings. You are playing top tier teams or whatnot, and you're kind of not battle tested, which is why you think about it in the playoffs at home. San Fran came in and did what they did to us when it came to our building. They said, "Listen, we're gonna beat you up. Our quarterback sucks. We know he sucks. He'll probably be the death of us," and he was. But we're gonna run the ball 50 times, and we're gonna be physical on defense. And if you can take that punishment for 4 quarters, hats off to you.
Right.
But if you can't, we know we only need about 17 to 20 points to beat you.
Right.
And that was the case in Green Bay. That was the case in Dallas until they met up with a divisional team in the Rams that knew how to neutralize them late. So, but yeah, I agree with you there. I think that's worked against the Packers the last few years. I think that's worked against Dallas, believe it or not, the last few years. Playing in a weak division is not, unless you're the Patriots.
Right.
That it doesn't help you. It doesn't help you.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to then just start kind of putting all the sort of mental notches in, against people, obviously then you have the Rams with the Super Bowl hangover.
It's true.
So, if we're going to start wondering what effect will that have, which back to your Cowboys, they're now playing in the only division where they should feel like they have to earn every win. And so that might help them, especially because, again, I think Washington is a team that I don't think they're playoff bound, but they'll be tough. They'll be a tough out every game. The Giants will be a tough out every game. The Eagles have actual playoff aspirations. So the Cowboys should have to actually earn every win.
I agree.
Whereas those other 3, I think the Packers, Rams, and Bucks, I feel very confident saying just end it now. They're your 3 division winners. And so I think that'll actually help the Cowboys getting back to kind of where we were before.
Oh, agreed. I mean, the 90s, the other part, back in my day, like when those old heads with freaking Newport in his ear. Back in the 90s, honestly, dude, I swear, the NFC East was not fun to play in the 90s. It wasn't. Plus, the rules were different. Right. Roughing the passer was kind of like a judgment call.
I was going to say existed, but it really didn't.
The CTE was a thing, but it wasn't a thing. You see what I'm saying? So, it was a tough road playing the Giants twice a year, playing the Eagles twice a year, and Dallas they got swept by Washington like more times than not during those dynasty years because those were physical teams, and that helped serve them so well in building the team and playing in the playoffs because they're just like, listen, we just had 6 fistfights during a regular season with games with actual fistfights.
Right.
We can deal with you, San Francisco. We can deal with you. Philly, if we play you again, we can deal with. And in the Super Bowl, come on, Buffalo was not. Think about it. Buffalo was not. They weren't even more physical than the NFC East teams,
right.
Let alone with other teams in the NFC as a whole. So Dallas was like back-to-back years of this. Okay, Jim Kelly. Woo, really scared of you guys. That was a good 30 for 30, by the way. You should check it out.
I'll put it on the homework list.
For sure.
We'll be ready for next week.
For sure. So let's get to this, and then we'll wrap up with some football talk. So aside from Rodgers, Mahomes, Brady, who are you excited to watch quarterback-wise next year in this upcoming season?
I'm very excited to actually watch the entire AFC West play out.
Facts.
Particularly the 4 quarterbacks. It's very rare that an entire division has a soap opera going on, and so here you have. Justin Herbert is going to be attached to Joe Burrow for the rest of his career. They're both in the same draft class. And because they're both in the same conference, it's not going to be about Super Bowl wins. It's going to be about Super Bowl appearances. So Burrow has 1, Herbert has none. And even though he's young and it's unfair, the pressure's on that dude now.
Yeah.
Derek Carr seems to be 1-6-11 season from being run out of town in Vegas every single year. So the pressure's on. Russell Wilson, you just spent a fortune on him. Now he has to be the savior you paid for.
Yep.
And this is the first time since 2019 Patrick Mahomes isn't coming in as AFC champion Patrick Mahomes. He's got to get his way back up onto the hill, and so he has something to prove. And so, again, I feel the other 7 divisions, there's a clear front runner. That one is interesting. It can go a number of directions, and every quarterback is playing for something there. So
that's true.
Those 12 divisional games there, that's where I'm tuning in this year.
I was on another podcast, shout out to the Under Review podcast with my girl D. I called the AFC West this year. Do you remember the Jackie Chan movie that put him on the map here, Rumble in the Bronx?
No, I do not.
My God. Another one. I'm just going to create a Google Doc of movies you should watch, bro.
I was told there would be no homework.
For sure. But so the movie was basically set in the Bronx in like the 90s and how it was a lot different, a lot less gentrified, a lot more crime, a lot of more gangs. like the Warriors back in the 70s. Warriors, come out and play. Like, it was pretty crazy. AFC West is that. Yeah. I'm going to watch every AFC West game. You know, I already stream it on my phone from several like illegal pirate apps. So it's like I'm not doing the NFL ticket. I just want to spend $500.
No, that's fair.
I already have DirecTV. Like, I'm already paying enough. So, but those games are. I'm with you. Those games are must see because every one of those teams has a solid to great quarterback. They all have really good coaching. I don't know about the Chargers. I'm not, like, the jury's still out on that guy, on Taylor. But you know, those games are going to be highly competitive. The healthiest team wins. Honestly, if you were to ask me right now,
it's very possible.
So, because they're going to beat each other up all year.
Absolutely. I do need to say this though.
Yeah, go for it.
Anytime CBS, Fox, or Yahoo Sports refers to them as the Wild Wild West, I'm going to lose marginal interest each time.
That's a drinking game.
Because you know they're all going to do it all year long,
sure.
and I'm already upset about it.
Every time I see it, I'm going to hit you up and be like, Mongo, they did it again.
There's my bold prediction for the year. I'm going to get sick and tired.
What's the over-under?
I'll take 7. 7.5.
Okay,
We'll find 8 different major media sources.
Okay, so
calling it the Wild Wild West.
You said 7. I go with 70. So all right. So we have just enough time to fit this in. Let's get some pro wrestling talk.
Oh,
like,
beautiful.
do we have like the Rock's theme song or Stone Cold or Bret Hart or Sting or WCW? Like I wish we had some. Like I'd love if we had that right now. Oh, I'm loving it. Steve on the boards.
Steve, you are crushing this.
I love it.
That's awesome.
What? Oh man! Shout out to Steve on the boards.
Oh, Steve crushing it.
Oh my God. Oh man! And shout out to A&E. I don't know if you've been watching those biographies and Rivals. Like, they got a good series. It's free on the app, so I'll show you the app. You can watch all of them on freaking A&E. They got freaking bios on Stone Cold, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker. They got a new season with Undertaker's on this new season.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm nerding out to that. I know Steve is too. Is that JR? My God! It's a slobber knocker. What? But yeah, so Vince McMahon, a lot of Me Too allegations. Vince was a wild boy, probably still is. I don't know what rich people do in their spare time, but obviously he is no longer, at least in a public sense, affiliated with the company. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes? But Triple H taking over creative, Stephanie taking a bigger role. I think they got one of the Khan brothers who works behind the scenes.
Right.
Nick, I think.
I think it's Nick. Yeah.
Nick Khan. So I watched Raw the other night, and I could tell noticeably that Triple H has his fingerprints on that product. I didn't watch SummerSlam. I was away, but I did catch different pieces of it. Again, the product is considerably different. Mm-hmm. I see it, I feel it. 2 questions, and I know you're going to answer these very well. Number 1, why do you think that this didn't happen 5 years ago?
Okay.
And number 2, how excited are you for what's to come with Triple H, and I think Paul Heyman as well? He's going to have more of a say with creative moving forward into this next generation of WWE and their product.
So the honest answer to why it didn't happen 5 years ago is because Vince McMahon is Vince McMahon. He is a big baby with 1,000% pride who wanted it his way. He wanted to go on his terms, and unfortunately that couldn't happen. And honestly, I'm strictly guessing here. Vince is more upset that he did not get to end it his way than why it actually ended.
That sounds about right.
Which is unfortunate, and I'm sorry that I'm bad-mouthing someone I know nothing about as a person, but just based on his track record, thank you for lightening the mood there. That would be what he wanted more than anything. And in that same vein, my other guess would be they were going to make a storyline of it. When it was finally time for his time to go, he would have probably found a champion. He probably would have tried to fight himself, but they would have said, the insurance won't cover that. You need to find a champion. And there would have literally been a WrestleMania match for the rights to the company where Triple H fought. It looked like it was going to be Austin Theory, to be honest. It looked like they were really ready to make him the chosen
for
McMahon
control
son.
of the company.
Right.
I can see that.
Or Shane. I'm still not sure Shane McMahon leaving wasn't part of a long-term storyline where he comes back and takes the company.
Agreed.
So I think that was ultimately where it was going to be going, which is why they were waiting until he was truly ready. But ultimately, Vince was going to try and do this until he literally was being wheeled out there. So,
True.
That's the main reason. Now, in terms of what we can look forward to, and in terms of where this is going, first of all, you could already, like you alluded to, you can already see two things. First of all, Triple H is just making it fresher. You can just see it in the camera angles. You can see it in Michael Cole's particularly script. But in general, I mean, remember, Triple H is a wrestler.
Yeah.
So he is going to naturally trust wrestlers more.
He understands the intricacies of the actual craft.
Exactly.
For sure.
And he's going to let them go a little bit more loose on a promo. He's going to let them have a little bit more of a vernacular when it comes to what they're allowed to say, what they're allowed to do. And so right off the bat, you can see that it's going to be a looser show. Secondly, I think it's genius. The one major change Triple H made right away is he took Becky Lynch and turned her face at SummerSlam.
That was lovely.
Lovely and a no-brainer.
It absolutely needed to happen.
Right. And so what he did, I agree. And so what he did was he basically took the lowest hanging fruit he could find.
Yeah.
And he's undefeated right now. You know, he's 1-0. Why wouldn't you do that? Why would you, reinvent the wheel when there's something so obvious in front of you?
For sure.
So I think he did a very genius, which we all expect. And I think long term, I think most people are thinking, what can he do for the production value? I think the biggest issue is, again, he is a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that means is that AEW loses a lot of steam in this because the biggest thing all along was AEW is sort of the rebel, strike run by wrestlers. And I know Cody Rhodes isn't there anymore, but it's still Jericho's, family basically.
For sure.
It was the Suits versus the wrestling outcasts, but now it's wrestlers versus wrestlers. And so, especially when people are coming overseas, they now will see them a little bit more equal. It won't be, hey, we're the fun over here. Hey, we're the suits over here. The last thing is Vince always basically, if you weren't built like Goliath or if you weren't, centerfold female material, you already were B-list material.
For sure. It was already an uphill battle for you. I remember CM Punk mentioned that. He alluded to that. Even Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, they had reservations when they finally broke through because Vince certainly had a type.
Exactly.
He had a type. And the shorter guys, quote unquote, it was an uphill battle for them because, okay, we got to work that much harder to get over to compensate for this push that we're going to have to be pulling teeth with Vince because he wants to push his action figures over the big guys.
Exactly. And even when he started to break away from that over the last couple of years with guys like Rollins, you can't change your history.
Right.
It was 40 years of if you're not, the strongest man alive, we don't want you. And so I feel like now these people will come back, especially because Triple H had this vision of NXT being an actual minor league program.
Absolutely.
So you can come develop and then bring that up.
Right.
Vince was going through this phase at the end where when you came up, basically you had to change your identity.
Exactly.
You were either flipping or you were changing your character or your name or whatever. Now people can actually come, develop, grow a story, get a backing, and then when they come up, get a true pop.
For sure, because Killer Cross suffered from that. I mentioned that on the episode 1 with Dave Sturcio, shout out to Chop Sports. Killer Cross, I love what him and Scarlett do. Their look, the way he moves in the ring, his mannerisms, his character. I had no faith at all that they were going to use him properly, and they ruined him. With a mask. He even called it. I watched a couple of interviews where he was just like, as soon as I saw this mask, I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And you take Scarlett away. Scarlett wasn't even there with him when he came out. So I've heard that there's a chance that he might come back. Keith Lee is thriving in AEW, but I was so excited to watch Keith Lee get brought up and become that next big-time superstar like a Big E or what Roman is, a homegrown talent that has all the tools, so give him the platform. So I think Triple H, like you said, the fact that he's a former wrestler, that's a big win for the boys.
Absolutely.
The actual wrestlers and whatnot. All right, so we are in the finals home stretch. We always end things with some rapid fire. Today's edition of Rapid Fire is brought to you by the U-Goboy podcast. Merch, and more merch. Dave's got the hoodie. He's got the zip-up hoodie with the U-Goboy logo. Shout out to Dan DiCarlo. Shout out to Dan DiCarlo and Eddie Heartthrob. They made that logo. They made that logo. This
that
logo.
Beautiful
they made
logo.
This logo here. Wayne. So Go grab the merch. It'll be in the description. I'll always be rocking merch, and every time Dan is on here, he'll be rocking merch. Just merched out. Merch everywhere. All merch, everything.
Waiting on that hat, Amazon.
Hat, yeah, Amazon. Jeff Bezos. Blame him. Going through a tough time. Still grieving over the divorce. Okay. So, rapid fire. So, basically, this is just some quick questions. Shout out to, rest in peace, of course, always to James Lipton from Inside the Actor Studio.
Yes.
He perfected this. I'm glad somebody knows the game or whatever. So, anyway, first question. What is your favorite word?
Octothorpe.
Nice. Different.
That's the fancy word for a hashtag, in case you're wondering.
Oh!
It's actually called an octothorpe.
We can end it there. What is your least favorite word?
Frustrate, because I always spell it wrong, so it in turn frustrates me.
Nice.
Thank you.
In your group of friends, are you the one that's always late, or are you the one that everyone brings their problems to?
Yes, I show up so late that by the time I get there, all hell is broken loose.
He'll be here all week. All right. Biggest pet peeve?
People who hold grudges.
Nice. Worst fear?
Dying alone.
Favorite? This just got dark.
Sorry.
Favorite sports moment?
Oh, it's only going to get darker. When Piazza hits the home run 10 days after 9/11.
Nice. Dark, but nice. Nice. Actually dramatic. I like it. Favorite snack?
Cookies. Any cookie on the planet. I'm eating it. If Cookie Monster would eat it, so would I. That's been my rule since I was 4.
Damn, son.
I love that. Favorite football player, favorite baseball player of all time? Each.
Favorite football player would be Byron Cox from the day that he, when he broke his leg in a game and just kept playing anyway.
Nice.
So Brian Cox, definitely my favorite football player. Baseball would be Paul O'Neill. I just loved. He did everything so well.
Love
Did
Paulie.
everything so well.
Oh man, Warrior, my guy. Favorite play-by-play announcer?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to cheat here. So if I'm going play-by-play, it's Michael Kay. But Walt Frazier is the best announcer. He's technically a color,
Serendipitous.
right. He makes me percolate every time I listen. He's technically not a play-by-play guy. He's the color commentator, but he's my favorite commentator.
That works. I like it. Celebrity crush growing up?
Jennifer Aniston.
Nice. And last but not least, what is one job you think you would be good at if you weren't a teacher / podcaster / bearded man?
Ooh, I will go with. I could be a pretty good auctioneer.
I can see it.
I think I can pull that
off. Oh man! All right, so it's about that time. Plug away your social media handles, and I'll do mine, and I'll take it on home.
Absolutely. So I don't use the hashtag or the Octothorpe that much. I'm actually not on Twitter. But I do want to quickly plug, like you said in the introduction, I am part of the basketball team for I-80 Sports. Again, I-80 Sports. You can find us on Spotify. You can find the group on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. We do basketball, wrestling, soccer, football. And anything else you want to, if you put it in the chat and say, we want to see an episode on it, clearly I'll do it. So again, I-80 Sports, check us out, guys.
I love it. And okay, as always, you can find me on Instagram, U-Goboy88, u-goboy.com, U-Goboy88 on TikTok. Again, over 95,000. That's nuts.
That's incredible.
That's nuts.
Let's get to those 6 digits.
Let's
go.
get to 6 digits. We're close.
Let's
We're
go.
We're close.
I'm excited to be part of this now.
As well as all the music as well. I'm actually shooting a music video this weekend in New York. Shout out to my man A1. He's the next guest, by the way. Shameless plug.
Nice.
Music's doing great. All digital platforms, U-Goboy music, it's everywhere. All the singles. Bruce Wayne Money out now, streaming on all digital platforms. The Bass Podcast, my brothers, Fab, Loso, Ed Boy, DK. My brothers at the Bass is always on the Bass show. And as always, once again, to close things out, that's Aaron Judge. That's the belt. That's the other belt. That's Dan. I'm U-Goboy. We out. Bravery up. Yahtzee. Bravery up. Whoa. Hey, this a vibe, nigga. Whoa. Woo. Secure the bag. I need more. Hey, 3P, Jordan. Whoa. Woo. I can't keep it on a low. This a whole vibe. I don't need a plug, no cosign. Thinking out loud, that's a gold mine. Mask on, yeah, COVID-19. Baby mama, yeah, looking like Rihanna. Rest in peace to George, rest in peace Brianna. Still kicking like Van Damme with my niggas in Amsterdam. You go, boy. Yahtzee.